Stop scrolling. I need you to think about something for a second. Not the political headlines, not the pundits screaming on cable news. Just a simple question. If you woke up tomorrow morning, picked up your phone, and saw that the unthinkable had happened, if the map of the world had fundamentally changed overnight, what would you do with your money? And I don't mean in a week, when the markets have already crashed or the banks are struggling. I mean in that first 30 minutes, the smartest order of operations. Look, I'm not here to scare you. I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat, and I'm not telling you to build a bunker in your backyard and fill it with canned beans. That's the emotional response. And in a crisis, emotions are the enemy of your wealth. The problem is, most people think that during a geopolitical shock, you just sell everything and hold cash, or you buy gold, or you buy Bitcoin. But doing any of those things in the wrong order is how you go from being a worried investor to being a broke one. We've seen the playbook before. We saw it during the early days of COVID, we saw it during the 2008 collapse, and we saw flashes of it during the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The market doesn't close because the world is scary. It stays open, and it punishes hesitation. So today, we are going to map out the chronological order of moves. We are going to talk about liquidity, about hard assets, about digital escape hatches, and about the one thing you probably haven't considered that the ultra-wealthy do in the first 12 hours. This isn't a political video, it's a survival guide for your portfolio. And if you're the kind of person who wants to be prepared rather than scared, hit that subscribe button right now. We've got a lot to cover, and the clock is ticking. Let's establish the problem, because we have to understand the threat to know how to counter it. When we talk about a World War III scenario, we aren't just talking about a bad day in the stock market. We are talking about a systemic shock to globalism. We are talking about supply chains freezing, energy prices spiking to levels that make the 70s look cheap, and most importantly, a run on perceived safety. The first thing that happens is a dash for trash. Wait, let me rephrase that. A dash for cash. But actually, it's a dash for the illusion of safety. The average retail investor, that's you and me if we aren't careful, will panic and try to sell their tech stocks, their crypto, their growth funds. But who are they selling to? In a flash crash, the buyers step back. The bid-ask spread widens. That means if you try to sell your Apple stock at 9:32 a.m., you might get 20% less than it was worth at 9:30 a.m., simply because there are no buyers willing to pay fair value in that moment of chaos. You get slaughtered on the exit. Then, there's the banking angle. We've had a taste of this with regional bank failures recently. If the news is bad enough, there's a psychological trigger where people think their money is safer in a shoebox than in a bank. But here's the catch. If a conventional war breaks out involving major powers, the first thing governments do is declare bank holidays or limit withdrawals to prevent a collapse. If you wait in line at the bank on day 2, you might be too late. The ATM limits will be slashed to $200 a day. And then there's the digital layer. In a global conflict, cyber warfare is the opening salvo. That means power grids, internet infrastructure, and financial networks are primary targets. Your Robinhood app might not load. Your bank's website might be a 404 error. Your crypto wallet? If the internet is fragmented or if there's a kill switch, your digital gold is just a line of code you can't access. So, the problem is threefold. Market liquidity dries up, physical cash becomes scarce, and digital access becomes unreliable. You need a plan that works regardless of whether the lights are on or off. You need to move in a specific sequence. So, what's the first move? It sounds boring, but it's the foundation. Step 1. In the immediate aftermath, we're talking the first hour, is securing physical cash. And I don't mean $50. I mean enough to cover 1 to 2 months of essential expenses. Why? Because in the initial shock, credit cards might stop working if the networks are jammed or if banks freeze assets to prevent capital flight. Debit cards rely on those same networks. If you need to buy gas to get out of a city, if you need to buy food, if you need to pay someone for a service, cash is king. But you have to get it before the bank runs start. If you hear the news at 7 a.m., you need to be at the ATM by 7:15 a.m., not at your computer checking your 401k. At the ATM, get the cash out while the machines are still full and the system is still processing. This is your liquidity buffer. It doesn't earn interest, it doesn't grow, but in a breakdown of the system, it's the only thing that spends. Now, once you have your physical cash buffer secured, and I mean literally in your hand, in a fireproof bag, not in the car, Then you move to step 2. And step 2 is counterintuitive. Step 2 is do nothing with your stocks. I know. You want to sell, but you're too late. The algorithms have already beaten you. By the time you saw the news and drove to the ATM, the institutional investors were already hedging. Selling your equities in the first 24 hours of a geopolitical flash crash is statistically the worst move. You lock in losses at the bottom of the panic spike. Instead, you need to look at your portfolio and ask one question: do I own anything that benefits from chaos? Historically, that's been US dollars, which you already have in cash, and US Treasuries, which actually often go up in price during a flight to quality. But in a true WW3 scenario, energy is the commodity that breaks first. If you don't already own energy stocks or oil futures, don't chase them now. They'll be gapping up 50% and you'll buy the top. But you need to check your portfolio for exposure to defense, cybersecurity, and essential goods. Those are the sectors that might act as a shock absorber. The smart order here is cash first, then assess your holdings. Don't trade in a panic. Trade with a plan. All right, you've got your paper cash. The immediate liquidity crisis is handled. Now we move to phase 2, which happens over the next 24 to 72 hours. This is the phase of wealth preservation. This is where gold and silver come into the conversation, but we have to be smart about it. Here's the reality of physical gold. You can't buy it with a credit card from an online dealer if the grid is under attack. You can't have it shipped to you. The time to buy gold was last month. However, the order we are talking about today is what to do after the event starts. If you already have a stash of physical gold or silver at home, great. That is your hard asset hedge against currency debasement. But if you don't have it, trying to acquire it on day 2 is a nightmare. Premiums on coins will skyrocket, and dealers will be sold out or closed. So the smart move in this window isn't buying new gold, it's securing the hard assets you already have. Or, if you have the cash, looking for distressed sellers in your local community. But let's be realistic. Most of us don't have a safe full of Krugerrands. So, what's the modern equivalent? It's ammunition and medicine. I know that sounds dark, but we are talking about a worst-case scenario. In a societal stress event, barter economies pop up overnight. Cigarettes, liquor, fuel, antibiotics, these become the new currency. They are hard assets that hold value because they fulfill a need. But let's bring it back to the investing side. While you're securing physical goods, you also need to look at your digital precious metals. I'm talking about a specific type of crypto, Bitcoin. But again, there's an order. Do not try to move Bitcoin on day 1. The network congestion will be insane, and transaction fees will eat you alive. Wait for the panic to settle. The narrative around Bitcoin is that it's digital gold, but its liquidity is tied to the internet. If the internet is fragmented, it's useless. However, if the conflict is conventional and the internet stays up, Bitcoin often rallies after the initial crash because it's seen as outside the control of any one government. So, the order is physical goods first, cash, ammo, meds, then digital assets once the network stabilizes. You don't want to be trying to remember your seed phrase while the power is out. This brings us to step 3, and this is the step that separates the amateurs from the people who actually sleep well at night. Step 3 is about geographic and jurisdictional arbitrage. What does that fancy term mean? It means using the fact that the world is big. War is rarely global in the sense that every square inch is on fire. If you live in a major metropolitan area, a New York, a London, a Tokyo, you are in a potential target zone, both physically and economically. The smartest investment move you can make in the first week isn't buying a stock. It's securing a place to be that isn't there. I'm talking about secondary residences or even just a plan to stay with family in rural areas. But let's talk money. If you have investments in a country that is directly involved in the conflict, you need to look at diversifying the jurisdiction of your assets. This is what the super rich do instantly. They move money to stable, neutral, or non-aligned nations. Think Singapore, Switzerland, or even the UAE. If you have the means, having a bank account or a small holding in a country that isn't a combatant protects you from capital controls and asset seizure. You also need to look at multinational corporations based in neutral countries. For example, if the conflict is between the US and a major power, European defense stocks might move differently than US ones. The point is, don't keep all your eggs in the basket that's on fire. This is the time to look at commodities that are globally priced, like gold, silver, wheat, and oil. You can access these through ETFs, but again, the order is crucial. You don't buy the commodity ETF until after the initial margin calls have been settled. In the first 48 hours, people sell everything that's good to cover losses on bad bets. That's your entry point. You wait for the forced selling to end, and then you rotate a portion of your portfolio into global energy and agricultural plays. Because in a war, armies don't run on patriotism. They run on oil, and people need to eat. The money flows to the necessities. Look, I've thrown a lot at you. Cash, gold, bullets, Bitcoin, Swiss bank accounts. It sounds like a lot. But the underlying principle here is simple. Liquidity first, preservation second, opportunity third. The biggest mistake people make is trying to get rich during a crisis. They see the chaos and think, how do I 10x my money? That's how you lose it all. The goal in a scenario as serious as the one we're discussing isn't to beat the S&P 500. It's to make sure you and your family are fed, sheltered, and financially intact on the other side. And honestly, the real smartest order to invest your money, whether it's tomorrow or next year, is to invest it in optionality. Having cash gives you the option to buy when others are forced to sell. Having a skill gives you the option to earn when jobs are scarce. Having a network of trusted people gives you the option to share resources. The stock market is just a reflection of the economy. It isn't the economy itself. If you secure your personal economy first, your home, your health, your immediate needs, you can then look at the financial markets with a clear head and pick up the pieces. So, to recap the order, number 1, physical cash in hand today. Number 2, essential physical supplies and hard assets you already own. Number 3, a geographic and jurisdictional hedge. Number 4, a calculated patient move into crisis-resistant sectors like energy and defense, but only after the initial panic flush. Don't be the person who tries to sell their house for Bitcoin when the bombs are dropping. Be the person who calmly goes to the ATM, secures their perimeter, and waits for the market to show its hand. That is the smartest order. If you got value out of this perspective, if thinking about the order of operations rather than just the fear helped you, I need you to do me a favor. Hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that we're having a real conversation here, not just screaming into the void. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, not just for doomsday, but for the next market crash, the next inflation spike, the next big shift, hit subscribe. I'll be here breaking it down for you. Thanks for watching. Keep your head on a swivel and keep your assets liquid. I'll see you in the next one.